You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Do you guys see this cup?
No more Yankee my wanky.
No, this
empty.
cup.
Yeah.
It's empty. This right here, and I'm not trying to, they're not a sponsor, but this is a 20-ounce coffee from 7-Eleven. I should not drink coffee this late because we record pretty late at night here. This isn't something
That
we
is
do
true.
during the day. But
Because we have lives.
this was one of those days where I was kind of worn out and I actually had to take a nap.
Oh, you're old as fuck.
Yeah, oh, Amber's
I
get old.
nap every day.
The shit I took from Amber. She's like, I'm like, I have to take a nap. She's like, hey. But I got one of these things. So I'm plenty freaking wired. And I'm glad I'm wired because we got a fuck of a show tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Lots to talk about. I don't know how we're going to get through all this stuff. Lots to talk about. But there are other pieces of business.
That's true. Some good business.
Yeah.
It's very good business.
First off, let's mention the Flint Institute of Arts. We mention this every week at the top of the show.
That's
Make
right.
sure you check them out online. They've got a weekly film series going on right now. Also, make sure to check out projectorscreen.com.
Love projectorscreen.com. Well, the Flint Institute of Arts, we're actually working a trip out right now. We've talked about this. And we're going to totally like tailgate before like the movies and stuff.
I am
Yep.
so down for that.
We're so going to work this thing out the next few weeks. So we're going to be heading up there. Flint, get ready. We're going to paint your town yellow. Can't wait. It's going to be
We're going
awesome.
up there just to drink some water.
Yeah. We can't,
oh, ayo, too soon.
what if you get drunk on that?
Maybe.
I mean, because
Get
booze
drunk
is
and
bad
die.
Or you can get Legionnaire's disease and just die.
for it. Yeah,
you know.
bad. I'm not even going to try to riff on that.
Not
So
even
yeah,
funny.
projectorscreen.com.
Yep.
Fucking awesome.
Awesome. And then make sure you check out our giveaway on the front of the website, themoviesleuth.com, for our 5 DVD horror set from Wild Eye Releasing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
5.
That's 5 movies for
DVDs.
free.
I know. Jeez.
It's weird, too, because like not a lot of people have entered this one.
What are you,
It's like-
nuts?
Yeah. It's like 5 movies for
Man,
free.
I know.
Like,
5 movies. And horror movies at that.
they're tarded.
Shame on you people.
Yeah.
Shame. For shame.
Get it together.
Shame. Ding, ding.
It's free shit.
I know.
It's free.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
news this week. We got some
We got some big news.
big news this
Dude,
week.
holy crap, right?
Yeah, so Star Wars is officially
Yeah.
meeting Game of Thrones.
What?
As David
I read that before I came here tonight.
David Benioff and D.B. Weiss have been hired by Lucasfilm to produce the new series of Star Wars movies that Rian Johnson is going to direct.
We're going to finally get some boobs in Star
We're finally
Wars.
going to get some
I hope
boobies.
those movies are like super dark.
I think that this is the right way for them to go. Bring in some fresh blood and somebody that has something that's really popular like Game of Thrones. They're going to be done with this show next year.
Yeah.
So
They need some
Wah,
work.
wah.
hand it off. Hand it off. Bring somebody from the outside in. And I think this is going to be great. So
It's an interesting idea.
So how long is how many movies is this going to be?
it's going to be a new trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's just going to be just in the Star Wars universe.
It's
Like,
going to
do
be
you
in the
know
Star Wars
anything
universe,
else
not
about
connected
I know
to
that.
anything we know already.
Okay.
So
That could go anywhere.
that's good because the Han Solo trailer also premiered this week.
I'm not
and,
ready for that yet.
Dude.
I haven't watched it. I'm not ready.
I'm just not thrilled about it.
No, I mean, I'm sure Donald Glover is going to be amazing, and it's going to be a Star Wars movie. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out on Star Wars.
Well, I think we can. It's established that we're not going to get a bad film.
No.
It'll be a good film.
Sure.
Does it need to be made?
No.
That's my problem.
We got Han Solo already. We don't need another guy playing Han Solo.
it
Leave it
scares me.
alone.
It scares me.
It freaks me out.
Yeah, it's
I
just,
like Han Solo and all, but I would much rather have a different movie about somebody else.
Yeah, something else similar to like Rogue One, where it's like this offshoot story.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
Move on, please.
Move on,
I'm getting
move on.
upset.
I'm
That's
getting
some
upset
big
too.
news, though.
Yeah, it's huge news.
Early Black Panther reviews on Rotten Tomatoes are coming in at 100%.
Of course.
So
Really?
yeah. So they're saying this is probably the best Marvel movie ever released.
What?
Yep. That's all. Everything I've read so far is saying that this movie is going to blow people away. So I'm actually kind of excited. I get to see it next
I was
week.
gonna say, don't you have an early screening?
Yes, I do.
Bitch.
All right. In other news, we did get the Cloverfield Paradox.
Fuck, that was cool.
Released to Netflix this week, which with little
Dude!
to no fanfare, it just got like boom.
I scared the crap out of H over
That's
here.
gonna be my suggested viewing, actually.
Yeah. Well,
we just
We'll
watched
share
it today.
that. Yeah. Well, that whole thing went. Yeah. Like I didn't watch. Did anybody in this room watch the Super Bowl? Oh yeah, you're the sports girl.
yeah, she likes the sports.
I don't
I
like
did-
football, but
I didn't.
did watch
I was
it.
busy watching this list that we'll talk about here in a minute.
Oh, okay.
And then like somebody on Facebook was like, "Dude," or something somewhere like, "Dude, they just announced that
Yeah.
Cloverfield's
Cloverfield,
going to be
the
released tonight.
Cloverfield Paradox
Yeah.
will be released after the Super Bowl." So then I was interested in the Super Bowl. Like, well, when's this fucker going to be over with?
Yeah, when I was interested in the end of the Super Bowl. Well, Paramount came out today and said that they are actually still planning other sequels in this anthology of Cloverfield that will not be on Netflix. That now this thing is going to be
A
twofold.
theater?
It's going to
Yeah.
be in the theaters and going to be on Netflix.
That's
so
awesome.
We
Going
spent all this
back-
time talking about this model
Last
last
week.
So fucking weird.
at that.
we do this. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
This happens on here all the time. We predict this shit.
We are
Yeah.
spiritual and in tune with the universe.
You guys don't know, but there's a big crystal ball in the middle of this studio that we all stare at while
Yes.
we're doing the show.
I seriously thought you were.
What?
I thought you were gonna say there's a big crystal ball in my pants or something like that.
No.
Staring at my
For once,
crystal
I didn't make a
balls.
dick joke. Staring at my, everybody stares at my balls during the show. They're like two crystal amulets or whatever, and my balls predict the future.
Yes, my crystal ball.
Isolate that one and put it somewhere. So that's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Chris.
No, it's okay. So
That was
this,
exciting, though.
Yeah, that's really
well, it's exciting because we know we're not just going to be limited to Netflix for these now, which I think a lot of people thought like, okay, the Cloverfield brand is just going to be on Netflix now. Paramount is planning on
doing
multiple
multiple things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's really neat.
Well, and one thing from a technical standpoint, I do want to give the Netflix people some real big props because I was so afraid. I'm like, okay, man, I'm going to be refresh. When that thing pops up, I'm going to be like streaming that thing right away because I really wanted to see this movie. And I was like, man, this is going to suck. That site is going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that thing's going to be buffering left and right, man. Smooth as silk. I paused one time because I watched it on my phone, right? And I'm like, okay, this is scary. And I had to pause one time, like, oh my God, if I pause this thing, I'm afraid it's going to just totally fuck it up.
Crash.
Bang, right back on, no problem. So I really, a tip of the hat to the Netflix, their technical force, people working the back lines because they kept those servers running and they load balanced that properly, I think. Sorry to be so nerdy, but they really got things going and it worked. I'm sure they planned for this though. They were planning.
sure.
No, I knew a few people that actually did have problems getting it to load though. Like
Really?
Liam's dad was posting on
really?
Facebook, he couldn't get it to load at first.
Huh.
So
I was refresh, and then it finally popped down. I'm like, bang, wham, here we go. So that was exciting. That was a really fun thing to do, I thought.
and it was a pretty good sci-fi flick too.
Yeah, it was decent.
Yeah. Is there any more news?
No, that's all the news. So
Well, okay. There was, we can't spoil it. There's a lot of people that want to see this. I enjoyed it. I think we all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You guys get a kick out. It was cool.
I enjoyed it. It was very reminiscent to me of several other movies, including Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Event Horizon was a big one. There was actually some elements, and this is not a spoiler, but if you guys are familiar with, it's not really, there was a movie made about it in the 80s, the Philadelphia Experiment.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
There were some elements,
Yeah, there was.
and I'll just leave it at that. There were some
Yeah.
elements
Yeah.
that stuck right out, and I'm like, whoa! And some
Whoa.
of the ideas that they were tying in of what's going on here, it all kind of revolved around that idea and that universe. So, yeah, it was a cool flick. I mean, do I say for Netflix, it was all right.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm afraid I don't want to spoil anything. There's a lot I'd like to talk about it, but we'll do it in
Yeah, we
private.
can.
I don't
Maybe
wanna
we do a
it here.
Cloverfield podcast at some point.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
well
fun.
we got 3 installments now, so.
All right, so new
Yeah.
releases this week. We've got 50 Shades Freed.
I saw the preview
Yeah.
for that last night,
I'm
dude.
seeing it tomorrow night. My theater seat's gonna be damp.
Yeah, with shit.
Disgusting person.
with poo.
There was an article I saw today. I just happened to just taking a break from work, and I saw it, and there was one of them clickbait articles where they, people are like, the stories that theater workers don't want you to know.
Oh, come on.
And that's one of the things that they mention. They're like, yeah, sometimes we have to check the seats.
Ew.
I'm like, oh, I sit in that thing. Gross.
Steam
bleach.
clean.
So I guess if you smell bleach when you go into the theater, you know what's going on.
what's happening.
Oh, gross.
So
Anyways,
50 Shades Freed, I'm seeing the press screening tomorrow night.
you sick bastard.
Yeah, I know. Peter Rabbit comes out
I wanna
this
see
weekend, and I believe Dawn is reviewing that one, and then we've got the 1517 to Paris that's coming out also.
Oh yeah, I heard a cool fact about that. I'm not sure how. It's probably been everywhere, but those guys that are acting were the actual people from the train when it really happened.
Yeah, I think I heard something about that
Really?
too.
Yeah, I was like, what? Say what?
What?
Yeah,
All
and then,
right.
and then Jesse said, I hope they don't suck at acting.
Oh,
Bruh.
all right. So
Well,
suggested viewings for this week. I sat through a movie last night called My Friend Dahmer. Dude, I tell you what, you need to be ready and take some antidepressants before
no.
watching this movie, because it's based on the real life story of teenage Jeffrey Dahmer and the things he was doing to animals and
boy.
his strange behaviors
Fuck that, I don't
before
wanna
Yeah, I
Right.
can't watch it.
Fuck that.
it was
No
turning
way.
my stomach, and it didn't even really
God.
get that
No.
bad. It was filmed in such a way that my stomach was turning when I'm
No.
watching it, because it's so real that no. But anyways, that's why I'm suggesting you watch it,
No.
because
Bad suggestion.
I'm not
sorry.
watching that.
don't
I
anybody
can't.
cry.
I can't deal
I
with
got
that
some
shit.
fur babies. I don't want to deal with that.
Stop your crying.
Forget about that movie. What is your suggested viewing this week, Heather?
Oh, well, it's Cloverfield, the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah. It was fun.
Jesse and I just watched it earlier today.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
Fun
It's-
sci-fi flick.
It is a really cool flick, and it's awesome because I really liked the other movie, the Cloverfield 10 Lane or whatever.
10 Cloverfield Lane. Oh, it was great.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except
was
for
the
like
shit
the
in that.
last 5 minutes of it. I thought that was kind of weird. But
Definite gear shift.
yeah, I mean, maybe that was what it is. I mean, I'll see it again for sure, but I was picking out all of the Easter eggs from the other movies.
Yeah.
And I knew where we were, and I knew what was happening, and I didn't have any confusion about the time. I mean,
Right.
Paradox is in the title, so be prepared. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. The music is great.
Yeah.
And the guy that does the music, Jesse did look this up because he recognized the music.
Yeah, it was Bear McCreary.
Yeah, and he does all the music for Battlestar Galactica.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right up your
And
alley.
then the cinematographer is the cinematographer for Star Trek, J.J. Abrams, dude. Mandeli or whatever the hell his name is.
Okay.
So, but it was just really cool because, I mean, there was all these extra elements that were making it better for us, you know.
It was funny, though, when I'm watching the Cloverfield Paradox, and I know J.J. Abrams was only on board as a producer,
Yeah.
but the entire time I'm watching that movie, I'm thinking to myself, J.J. Abrams has never met a movie he did not want to remake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because everything he does has some elements of being a remake,
Yeah.
including The Force Awakens.
Right.
So, but
No, there's. I was very interested yesterday. The reactions from the Cloverfield Paradox, and I read a handful of articles, and the same thread was going through, and reviewers, people who were reviewing it, not the geniuses here at the Movie Sleuth.
That's right.
Everything here is genius, and I'm not shitting on anybody else who's doing a review.
Sure
the
you
thread
are.
I saw that went through it, the thread I saw went through it, where it was leaning towards a complaint was, well, this movie was supposed to answer some questions.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it did answer some questions, but
Well, it did.
but it raised more questions. Well, yeah,
duh.
because
It's
we're gonna
called-
keep. It's called a
called
fucking
Paradox,
series.
you know?
Well, it's called a
okay,
series,
let me
though.
just put something out there.
It's fun.
If you claim to be a fan of science fiction and you get mad about questions being opened and new story threads being opened, then guess what?
You're not a fan.
You
You're not a
probably
sci-fi
shouldn't be
fan.
watching
You're
sci-fi.
right, yeah.
There was a lot of stuff I thought there's nothing going to be resolved, I don't think, and I don't want everything to be resolved.
No.
I want to have an imagination about some things, but there were some things that I clearly am like, okay, that makes sense. So
Yeah,
that's
for
what's
sure.
going on here.
For
Okay,
sure.
cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were some things like, what? Okay, let's move on.
Right, but we're watching a sci-fi flick, you know.
Yeah, and it's not going to be. I don't want it to be tied up in with a little bow at the end. I want to have to think about things, and I've been trying to sit down and watch it again, which I will. I want to watch it one more time.
And it's not very long. What is it, like
hour
and a half or something like
hour
that?
and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, because I watched it on my phone laying in bed, and I really want to sit down on my big screen and
You should.
just give it a good watch, which I will, and get the full whatever.
Get the whole thing in your mouth.
Yeah, the whole thing in
Okay.
my mouth. Yeah, it's just
Another thing that I really liked about it was the editing. I
Yeah.
thought it went between. I can't say.
Careful.
It
Careful.
went between the stories really well. I thought.
Yeah.
I was never confused about anything, and
No, it was smooth.
each cut, I was like, "Oh man, I can't wait until we get back there." Like I was really
Yeah.
into it.
it was very smooth. It was.
I'm not saying like it's an amazing movie or anything like
No.
that, but it's really good.
It fits.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it fits.
good.
So all right, yeah. More to come on that, I think.
Yes.
It's a fun series.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I'm excited. It's one of those ones I'm excited about because I mean I really have been looking forward to Cloverfield Station or Cloverfield God Particle or now what we know it's going to be called. What it is called is the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. I went and finally saw Phantom Thread last night.
Yeah, there you go.
I never miss a Daniel Day-Lewis film. Someday I'll marry that man, and we'll have beautiful children together. And this is a different, I'll say this, and without any spoilers, if this wasn't a Paul Thomas Anderson film with Daniel Day-Lewis acting in it, I may not have went and saw it, but I'm glad I did because it's not my wheelhouse.
Right,
I mean, if
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what the subject matter is, and it was great because we were in the theater last night, me and Amber, and Amber's like, "What's this movie?" Because she didn't even. I'm like, "We're going to see this movie because we have
Yeah.
to see it. It's important." And okay, fine, let's go. So we sit down, and she's like,
What is this even about?
"Well," she's like, "What's this movie about?" I'm like, "Well, and I can say this. It's about the fashion industry. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a spoiler." And she's like, she starts looking around the theater, and she's like, "You realize you're the only man in the theater right now?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Oh boy, what have I gotten myself into?" But no, it's a great flick, man. You're not going to get shit from Paul Thomas Anderson. We
Never.
know, and with
Never.
Daniel Day-Lewis, and I know this is his last film, and he's pretty. I read an interview with Daniel Day-Lewis this morning about that, and he's like, "Yeah, He's like, I didn't want to make a big deal out of this
I'm
thing.
retiring.
He's like, but I don't want to do any more films. I just don't feel like acting anymore. He's like, I like working with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Right.
He's like, it's always fun. He's like, we're really good friends, and we kind of built this movie together, this character and everything. He's like, so it was a lot of fun doing that. He's like, but I just don't want to keep doing that. So he's dead serious. I mean, who knows? In a couple years.
Right.
5 years from now, he's not very old. I mean, 5
he's
years from
not.
now, he might want to make another movie. But you know what?
Daniel Day-Lewis's range just blows my mind.
His range blows my mind too.
Blows my
And the fact
fucking
of the matter is, he's like the best out there.
Yeah.
So let him just
Do what he wants.
do what he wants and just go away.
Yeah,
If
he's,
you
Yeah.
want- if you
he's
want to
earned his
retire,
right to do
retire.
what he wants.
Yeah.
But the guy's range. As I watched Phantom Thread, I just was like thinking about the millions of other films I've seen because I've seen them all.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
different person. It's because most actors, okay, he's acting,
Yeah.
but there's that delivery, the Christopher Walken delivery.
Sure.
It's the same thread that goes through all of his films. He's a very great. Don't get me wrong, he's an amazing actor. He's incredible. But Daniel Day-Lewis is like down to like the facial structure.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It blows my mind. He's a completely different person. And make fun of him all you want for being a method actor and all that stuff. And I've heard all this shit about him or
No,
whatever.
whatever. That's
Don't care.
cool. Yeah.
Great flick. Go see it. I don't want to talk any shit about it. Worth every penny. And I'm going to probably go see it again in the theater because I just enjoyed it that much. It's a beautiful movie. Really beautiful moving film. So, all right. So on to the good stuff.
Yeah. The real good stuff.
This is how we got here, I think. As I said before, I hurt myself last week.
Oh.
I hurt myself. I was lifting weights. And I did. I hurt myself.
Does your urethra feel better now?
My urethra feels great. No, I actually messed myself up a little bit in the gym last week. So I decided, okay, I got to take it easy this weekend and just not do anything.
Yeah.
I'm usually up doing stuff, working on things. I needed to give myself a weekend free. So, well, what are you doing? I'm like, and dare I say, when I get sick, which is rare, when I get like, sick, I kind of get a little happy sometimes. Because, yeah, I don't like being sick, but it also affords me an opportunity to sit down and actually watch movies.
Right.
I love to watch movies, but I'm so busy usually, and it's hard to sit down and watch films. So I kind of get excited a little bit. I'm like, oh, man, oh, darn, now I have to sit here and watch 80 movies, and that's what I did this past weekend. And I dove in. I went down the friggin' rabbit hole. It was great. So, and that's why I made this dumb little list, which is going to tie right into what we're going to talk about tonight. So here's the list. And there's some weird ones that actually, your better half, one of his suggestions made it into this list
okay.
too. But Beastmaster started off the set with that.
Yeah.
Fucking sizzler to start off with, man.
Sizzler.
Then I watched, have you guys ever seen, have I ever mentioned this film on here? Treasure of the Four Crowns.
Oh, dude, that movie.
It's the greatest ever, dude.
It's so bad. And it was in 3D when it was originally
in the theater. It was in 3D, and I saw it in the theater in 3D. That's how I originally saw it with my parents when I was a kid. It was a 3D version, I think, in Clawson. We've talked about the Clawson Theater. Scored by Ennio Morricone.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's what makes that movie, it sticks out. They're like, that's the only bad film he ever did a score for.
It's so bad, too.
But it's not bad. The ending is so epic, dude. It's great. I love it, man. It's fun. And I do like it's actually kind of a freaky film how the movie plays out. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but there's like, whatever. It's weird. It's just bizarre. See it. So I banged that one out. And then I had to go, now, okay, where do we go now? Crawl?
Oh, God.
Yeah. I think we mentioned Crawl not too long ago on here. What's wrong with Crawl?
No, it's all right.
My friend actually made a very good point about this film. He's like, Crawl's a cool film, but he's like, it's probably the biggest ultimate weapon letdown of any film I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It really is, because you're like this badass, and it's like half an hour to get through this thing, and
right, and then it's just
it's like,
well, the funny thing about Crawl is that I saw this. I saw it at Macomb Mall Theater when I was a kid, and I remember watching it. And as soon as like the villainous troopers show up, I'm like, dude, this is like the worst Star Wars knockoff I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, Crawl?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I kind of liked about it. It really was a ripoff of a lot of stuff, but it blended a lot of cool elements together, I thought. Like they were trying to get the very futuristic type thing along with the whole medieval horse riding, fire bears and all that shit, So it had like this, medieval type idea with the futuristic type.
And if I'm correct, Liam Neeson is in this movie.
He is.
He's in that movie.
And he makes it nearly through the whole
one
thing.
Of the slaves,
one of the prisoners.
Slaves,
yeah. He nearly made it to the end. I was kind of bummed to see him go.
Just by chance, does his daughter get kidnapped?
No. He's got like 9 wives though. That was one thing I remember.
True.
He's like, he had like 9 wives.
So he does have a specific set of skills.
Not 9 lives.
With that gear.
So yeah, bang that one out. Per your better half suggestion, Brawl on Cell Block 99.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a fucking brutal flick, dude. Holy crap.
Yes, it is.
Then I had to watch Last Rampage, which I will be doing a review on this film this week.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and that's going to be, that'll be a good time. Then back down the rabbit hole we go to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Can't come out of Treasure of the Four Crowns and Crawl and not watch Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And then we fell into the Cloverfield Paradox and then Phantom. So I've been movie all weekend.
Yeah.
It's been crazy. Go ahead.
So we're talking kind of about 80s movies.
Well, yeah, we were talking.
Well,
I think I
yeah.
said, I'm like, this is all the shit that I watched this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, what are we going to talk about on the podcast? It's like, well, let me talk about 80s movies.
Right,
So-
because you just had a little...
I kind of want to dig
Soiree.
into
Revival.
this. Dig into this a little bit. What is it about 80s movies? It's
Yeah.
still what sticks out about these 80s movies? Why is it that 30 years later we're still all and H, you're even younger than us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, we always fall back on movies from the 80s. Why were they so much better than what we see now?
Or
Well-
why do we just Why are we just and like honestly, I would choose Ghostbusters over watching something that I haven't seen yet that just came out. Not even joking. I do it all the time.
Well, the thought process, like that little list that I was talking about over the weekend, when I sat down, like, okay, I'm going to watch a shit ton of movies. And I'm like, okay, what am I? I want to watch some new stuff, which I did. But I'm like, see, that's the problem with, and I've said this before, at least with my dumb brain, how it's wired up. It's tough for me to watch something new that I'm not really all into. Like, I know, like, Chris, you'll dive into anything. You don't care.
Yeah,
That's what you do.
way.
Yeah,
I'm
you
the
guys
same
just,
way.
where I'm like, okay, this is an investment of time. I want to make sure I'm going to enjoy myself, right? So, at least with the 80s stuff, especially with you and I, Chris, we're the same age, basically. Yeah, you go into a film like Ghostbusters, well, of course you've already seen it.
Right.
And I'm not saying this is the only reason with the allure of 80s films, but yeah, there's a nostalgic thing, of course, with anybody, right? But to me, my thought process was like, there's just nothing like these movies. Nothing looks like them. Nothing feels like them. And like when I say that the idea of color, I don't mean color, visual color. Colorful, the way they sound, they're just so colorful to me. I got a pretty big freaking list here that I just threw together, especially the action type stuff. Like you mentioned Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That's a great example right there. Because, like Slimer. We all know and love Slimer. Now, what? Ghostbusters, I think, was like 82, 83, the original
84,
one?
I
Was it
think.
84? Okay.
The first one?
Yeah.
Was the first one? I'd have to look.
Yeah, I had my list written out and I had the years
all right.
on them. But yeah, I think it's early 80s.
But you had, well, Ghostbusters, for example, you had a cast.
I was right, 84.
84.
Damn, I'm good.
You have a cast in Ghostbusters that you just can't assemble people like that no more. I think I've mentioned this before, and you guys tell me what you think. Comedy, because Ghostbusters, it's a supernatural comedy, basically, right? I think leaning heavier on comedy. The humor that I see now, it's dry. It's a dry humor.
Ghostbusters was really dry because Bill Murray, that's just how he is, but
that's Bill Murray, though. He's God.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's just a sign of the times because, I find some of that stupid ass shit so funny.
Well, and I think that's what, like Ghostbusters, for example, it was over the top.
Yeah,
it was insane. And that's what made it so beautiful was that it was over the top. It was crazy. And yeah, you're right. Bill Murray, his delivery has always been very dry, but that's just. There's this weird aura. This whole Bill Murray thing that people see. There's an aura about that guy that he can. What's that movie? Zombieland.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I'm like, dude, that chick is. I've been saying that for years. Like that guy could sit in a seat.
Yeah.
He could sit in a chair in the middle of a room and just sit there, not do anything, and I'd start laughing eventually because he's just that damn funny.
I think the difference between the humor with Ghostbusters and the humor that we see now is just like you were talking about, the cast and just that ensemble of people. I mean, Ivan Reitman and Harold Ramis wrote it, and Dan Aykroyd did too, I think, right? But I'm like that. Just you don't have. I mean, we have stuff that's like that now, but not. I don't know, man. It's so hard to explain when I try to talk about 80s films in general.
I think when I think about the 80s, okay, going to the comic thing or comedy thing, number one, I think the big difference is now they just put it right out there. It's right in your face right away. There's no build up.
Yeah.
Okay. And they go straight for the potty humor. They go straight for the dick jokes. I know we do that a lot on here, but that's just us hanging out because we're friends.
We're better than them.
We're better than them too. But in the 80s, they actually sat down and planned this stuff out.
Yeah.
And these people were people that, I wouldn't really say that we grew up with, because I think that relies too heavily on nostalgia.
Right.
But
Well,
I
SNL,
think Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, like these were people that are not taking anything away from anybody now, because there are funny people now. But these people were on a different level, and they were friends outside of this film that had worked together for a very long time. So when they do something like Ghostbusters, this ensemble cast, like you said, they know how to play off each other, and they know how to bring it without having to rely on cheap humor.
Well, and here's the thing too. As you're saying this, I mean, here's a great example, and I had to sit through this film, and I despise it still. It was Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh, man.
Not shitting on it. I'm going to shit all over it.
I thought it was funny.
It's funny.
It's
It's
funny.
really it's ungodly funny. But that movie is like, it just goes right for the jugular.
Oh, yeah.
There's like no bullshit, man.
It's
That is
not-
the
I
most
mean-
insane thing. Go ahead.
It's not a really good movie.
No, it's a terrible movie. And
Yeah.
Chevy Chase makes an appearance in that too. Boy, imagine that, right? But yeah, all of the humor in that film is just, it's filthy.
Yeah.
And I got no problem with that. It's fun.
I've got no problem with it either, but the fact of the matter is that it's too easy. It's too easy just to go for the constant dick fart cum jizz joke all the time.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie like Ghostbusters, or a movie I'm going to mention in a few minutes, the humor was so well planned that you get that hook, line, and sinker every time you see it.
Yeah.
If I go back and watch Superbad now, like, it doesn't make me laugh anymore.
It's not. Yeah.
Because
it's not.
it's
as-
not
They don't
funny
hold up.
anymore.
It just
It
don't
doesn't
hold
hold
up.
up because
I still
all,
like it, but
And Ghostbusters had sex.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver was in it, dude. Come on. She's still hot. I love that woman. There was a sexual element in that film. I mean, when she got hot, she got possessed, and I was like, oh, dude, holy crap. So there was, but there wasn't like fucking and fucking wieners,
there was
flying over. It wasn't.
It was
ghost
sensual.
blowjob.
What's that?
There's a ghost blowjob.
Yeah, but you don't. And that scene's beautiful. It's fucking great. Yeah. All you get for Ghostbusters, all you get is just the
Belt
fly
buckle.
coming down.
Right.
It's all
It's all insinuated.
insinuated. Thank you.
Implied.
It's all
Yeah.
implied. And then the eyes cross, and it's
know.
fucking great. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it right now, and it's cracking me up. I mean, I'm laughing myself and get the chills because it was done that good. It was just that good.
Is there a word for that? God, I don't. For that.
For a blowjob,
Well, I mean, just that's what
succubus.
That's what makes those '80s movies stand out so much more. Like that right there. That.
Well, it's just hinted at.
Well, no. I mean, I'm talking about that entire feeling of how actually funny that is, and just how it's not needed to be like gross and all. That specific thing that scene has.
Chemistry.
There's
Chemistry.
It was just it was shot well. It was edited right. They could have left the camera down there and okay, editing. They could have just left the camera down there. Okay, zipper comes down, and then that's all we see. But they could have let it go. Okay, zipper comes down, wiener comes out. Now I think it was also a sign of the times too. Back in 84, 83, 84, you couldn't put a dick on the screen.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
You really couldn't. So that's a thing too. I think these guys were handicapped in a way because they had to, and it isn't a handicap. I think it benefited them.
no,
'cause
I don't
these
think
films
they
hold up.
would have put that shit in there.
Hopefully
anyway.
not. But they had to be creative because okay, we want to hint at something here, kind of taboo.
Yeah.
But how are we going to do it tastefully? I
So
guess. I don't know. That's
Yeah, there's just that. That right there is what I feel like every '80s movies have.
Yeah.
Well,
that feeling right there.
Yeah.
Of it's perfect. It's perfect. You
Yeah.
know.
yeah, even like the bad 80s movies are still better than a lot of the stuff we get now. I just think, getting back to how we started this, I think that they cared more about scripting. Mm-hmm. We didn't have as many franchises. We didn't have the comic book movies that were just pumping out sequel after sequel. Yes, we did get some sequels, obviously, but I think character development was a huge
Yeah.
thing. Like, watch First Blood. First
Yeah.
Blood is one of my favorite 80s movies, and the entire first half of that movie is all character development.
Yeah.
They're developing John Rambo, and you're finding things out about him, and they're building it up to this huge climax, and you
to
don't
the point where you're rooting for him.
you're rooting for this guy that would be seen as
A terrorist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
and you care about this guy, you sympathize with his struggle. You don't get things like that anymore.
True.
And seriously, like First Blood, if that is not in the top 10 all-time 80s movies, you just have to kill me, because like seriously, Stallone in that movie,
Well, it made him.
it's bar none one of his best performances ever.
I think that's just we still get that stuff, but it's very rare, like it's the stuff that I don't the casual moviegoer,
Yeah.
they're not gonna, it's not so accessible anymore. Like in the 80s, there was this huge surge of actors and specific genre of things, like the buddy comedy and like, we don't I don't know, there's just something about it that just is lacking nowadays, like there's still the few and far between that we get, but it's just not the same.
I don't think they care as much. I really
know
don't
what it
think
is.
they care as much. I think it's so much about, with not every movie, obviously,
Right,
I'm
right.
generalizing.
Yeah, of course.
But I think so much about it is, this, everybody's going to sit in this room and we're going to get all discuss, everything is done with this massive group of creatives instead of somebody just writing a script and somebody directing the movie. Now everything is broken down
Well, it's all
into
panels and groups.
yeah, how can we make this an even bigger movie? Oh, well, it's just, it's not the same.
Here's some other extremes. You talked about First Blood. One of the ones I threw on my list was Stand By Me.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
me too.
Fucking awesome. I mean, it's a polar opposite of First
Yeah.
Blood. It's really a drama, right? But you talk about a film based on a premise, and when you finally get there, you're like, holy crap, But you talk about character development. That's one where at the end, these people.
Yeah.
And you love those people too. You really are rooting for them. And if you've seen Stand By Me, there's some things you hear about at the end where you're like, oh man, really?
Yeah.
What a fucking bummer.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a depressing film.
Oh, it is for sure.
But as far as the idea of character development, and I don't know, that was a book, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was originally
It
a
was
book.
not a full book. It was a short
Was it a
Was it
short
a
story?
novella or something
Okay.
like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
But through a film, they developed that, and as I already said, these people, these kids, at the end of the movie. And I could watch that movie over and over again. And it's not some big, exciting film. It's just some kids walking on train tracks for 2 hours, basically.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those ones where I can just watch it.
I love the way that movie looks.
Yeah.
That movie looks, it's film, it's on film, but it's grainy.
Yeah.
Yet when they're outside for most of the part, but it's orange and it looks
dusty.
like outside.
Yeah, it's
and,
kinda dusty looking.
It really takes in all of the elements of its surroundings. It's a
You want to
really-
go there.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you want to walk down
I
the
wanna
train
walk
track
with
Yeah.
them.
and hang
'Cause
out
you've
with these
done
kids.
that,
I want to go and I want to have a campfire with my friends in the middle of nowhere that I don't even know where the hell I'm at.
Dick
What's that?
and pull a leech off your dick.
No, I don't want to do that part. we can go without that. But I want to have to go to town with 5 cents and buy some hamburgers. I mean, it's such a humbling thing. Like you look at these kids, and what's the goal?
They're going to find the dead body.
There's not really anything. They're not looking for treasure.
No.
They're not gonna find anything. It's a rumor they heard, and they want to check it out, and they have to work all this shit out to make it happen. Right? Very humbling.
Now, talking about treasure, I just have to mention, I know you're not a fan of this,
Oh, I knew you were gonna do
but
it.
The Goonies It's the same kind of thing
Great
as
flick.
Stand By
You don't
Me.
like the Goonies?
Oh, I hate the Goonies.
Why?
It's such a wonderful coming of age movie.
Dude.
These kids just want to
No, it's
save.
cool.
The kids want to save their town. They want to save their parents from losing their home, and they
Very
go
humbling.
through all types of heroics. Being terrorized by the Fratellis.
Yeah.
And making friends with Sloth. Like, dude, Sloth is just like this big,
Best awesome
lovable, cuddly, like misshapen human being that he just wants a baby Ruth.
Well, it's your
just give him a fucking baby
it's your
Ruth.
classic, when you see Sloth initially, you're scared half to death. I mean,
Yeah.
you really, it scared the shit out of me when I was younger. But, speaking of character development, right?
Yeah.
By the end of the movie, dude, you want to move in with this guy.
Oh, I don't. I can't even watch that full movie.
I took a trip like a year and a half ago. I had to go down to Cleveland for a one-nighter for a concert I wanted to see. Stopped in this got a hotel for the night, booked it, and I, my rolling bar I bring with me. So I go in the room and I'm going to have a couple drinks before the show, before I have to walk down to the club, put on the TV, and guess what come right on was the Goonies. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Oh.
Well, I guess I'll watch this. And
Yeah.
I hadn't watched it in a while. Dude, 4 or 5 Captain and Cokes in. I'm like, fuck. I'm in the room standing up going, fuck, dude, it's the greatest. I mean, that movie is, dude, I can't. I can see how it wouldn't be for everybody, but it's your classic, just fun adventure flick.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
It's got some great
I just
comedy.
don't like it.
God, there's some great comedy in that too, man. I'm starting to like this kid. That whole scene with Chunk, that when I was younger, I pissed on the bed. I mean, come on, that's just hysterical.
I just
man.
love the fact that as a kid,
We want to do that. We want to do that.
I'm the same age as these characters watching this movie, so you empathize with them and you want to be part of their group. And every time you watch that movie when you're a kid, you feel like you're part of that group.
Yeah.
And they were so smart about creating that connection between all the characters. And it's like this broad spectrum of characters too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. That's a huge cast.
But when you watch it now as an adult, it's one of those movies that instantly transports you back to your childhood.
Yeah, I was sitting there in that hotel room going, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a kid again. This is so much. I'm a kid now getting loaded, but I'm still a kid.
Yeah.
I'm having a riot here, and I watched the whole film. I watched, it was a commercial thing.
And you're supposed to be out doing other stuff.
I did. I mean, no, I went to the show.
Yeah.
I ended up the counter guy and me, the hotel guy, became really good friends that night too. And I ended up watching that movie, and then stumbling out of the room to the front counter, half in the bag. And this guy seemed cool. So I ended up talking with that guy for 2 hours, too. So I got to the show still, but it was like this weird little adventure. It was a fun night. Anyways, all right, The Goonies.
Yeah.
Awesome flick. H thinks it's bullshit. Scott and Chris think it's all right.
H.
I'm not the only one that doesn't like it, all right?
Yeah, I know.
It's not for everybody. I understand that. Here's one. I'm going to throw, and then it'll be your turn.
Okay.
I want you to throw a handful out, but
A handful? All right.
I got a handful for you.
Hey,
2 handfuls.
Oh, my God.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, you dick.
Oh, did I steal your thunder?
No, I mean, it's fine. I knew we were going to overlap movies, but that's one of my
all-time
favorites. Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies.
There's no movie that looks like that one.
Right? Yeah.
And Michael Keaton, performance of his life, in my opinion.
Everybody in that movie. Everybody. Every single person.
Performance of his life in that movie. There's just
man.
one-liner after another, dude.
I love how they... that's another one. I love how that movie looks.
Well, yeah, there's
Still.
nothing stylistically, I think, to this day that matches it.
No, it's such a pristine looking film.
Well, yeah, I mean, somebody sat down, I don't know all the names. Somebody sat down and said, what would the afterlife look like? Right?
Yeah.
And that was someone's vision of that.
That was probably Tim Burton.
It was Tim Burton.
It was a Tim Burton film,
thanks. Yeah. Me and my freaking names. So Tim Burton had to, Tim Burton sat down and said, what does the afterlife look like here? And I mean, I'm interested in that kind of shit. So that's, even at a young age, I was interested in that. So it's a ghost story.
Yeah.
At its core, it's a ghost story. But we get this spin on it where it's just, it's a business, more or less. And you have some real within the fabric of it, you have some real angst, some real drama, some real frustration. You got you got people here, and that's the thing is Winona Ryder was fucking great in that flick. You can't.
Well, that was like you're
My
saying
Life
with
is
Adam
One.
and Barbara. They
Yeah.
were, they were struggling at first. They didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And then they hated being where they were, and they were really angry about it. They went through they were dead, but they went through the 5 stages of,
But
of
then it's
grief
like,
and all that.
But then we get this whole idea of, well, you guys got a problem with who's living in the house, then scare them.
Yeah.
So now you have, we hear ghost stories. We've all heard ghost stories, and I specialize in that shit. See, now you have this scenario where these people are like, okay, we got to figure a way to scare these people.
Right.
So now,
Get 'em
you
out of
think,
my house.
you think of a haunting or a ghost story or whatever. It's always this ominous entity, this presence.
Right. Right.
But now we got the other side of it where you got these 2 bumbling people going, what the fuck? How do we do this? We'll change, and,
We'll
no,
put
it didn't
sheets
work.
on our head.
Yeah. I mean, right? Oh God, it's such a cool flick.
It is such a really cool movie.
It's so much fun, and I can just keep watching that. It's another. I can watch it over and over again.
I watched it recently, actually. That's probably one of my most viewed movies.
Yeah,
I watch it every so often. I love that movie.
I got a VHS of that. I still have.
I have mine
Beetlejuice?
too.
No, not on one you bought. It was one I just taped off like HBO or something.
Oh, that's even better.
And it's got the right Beetlejuice on it. And I mean, that thing is just I can only imagine how shitty that thing looks now.
That was some of Danny Elfman's best music too.
Oh God.
That and my other mention is his score for the other movies is excellent too. But this score, the music in Beetlejuice is so memorable. Like when I'm thinking about scenes, I can hear the music.
Yep.
I know the lines. I know who's in the scene. I know where in the house they are.
Yeah.
I know all of it.
Well, that's
it's
the thing
just
too.
one of those movies
it's
that you just can't look away from.
It's this ghost story kind of whatever, but it's zany.
Yeah,
It's zany
really
as
funny.
hell. Like you have this craziness, and there's just so many friggin' elements. Like just want a cigarette? That whole thing just fucking. No, trying to quit myself. It's like, oh my God, dude! Where do you think there's just color? Mm-hmm. That's color.
Yeah, there's color, and then there's color.
Yeah, that movie is one of the most colorful films you'll see
Sure.
visually. But that, like I
That
mentioned,
feeling.
yeah,
There's that heaviness of color in there. It's
yeah.
so
But
colorful.
the '80s, like that, when I mentioned that idea of color,
Yeah.
I mean that's visual color. But that's a colorful film, delivery-wise, stylistically, everything. Michael Keaton, I can't think of a better film I've ever seen him do. Okay, Mr. Mom was pretty cool, but
Yeah, Mr. Mom is a phenomenal
it's a phenomenal movie. But man,
and it holds up
but
too.
Beetlejuice, dude, he just I didn't even realize the first few times I saw it, I didn't even know it was Michael Keaton.
Oh, really?
Honestly, and I'm like, wait, and I was young, and they're like, that's
Sure.
Michael Keaton. I'm like, wait, Mr. Mom, I mean,
Right, yeah.
He was young. He,
was
needed
very
the
young.
money.
So yeah, you can't really. That's a tough one to top on this list is Beetlejuice, at
Well,
least in my opinion.
I'm gonna say what my favorite movie from the '80s.
Your ultimate, your
my
top number
ultimate
one.
'80s movie, and people are gonna be like, "What is wrong with you?"
Let's hear it.
Better Off Dead.
Oh, I knew it! I
Hands
fucking
down,
knew it.
best movie.
You can't fuck with that movie.
Oh, we're
trying to high
five. Okay,
I love that movie. I love that movie.
I have seen Better Off Dead. If I've not seen that movie 250 times,
Yeah, man.
I would be
that's
shocked.
another one.
We watched this shit on repeat. We would
Yeah.
watch it, then rewind it, and watch it again.
I love that movie. That movie is so funny.
That's another one of those ones where you can't put your finger on it.
Of what makes it so
There's just
great.
nothing
Yeah.
like it. I hate to keep saying that over and over again, but there's nothing like that movie.
It's a movie about romance
Yeah.
and being a teenager in
It's
the
a rom-com.
80s. Right.
Yeah.
But it's never graphic. It's
No.
never gross.
No,
And the humor is, to this day,
it's
the
top
humor
notch, man.
is spot on.
Well,
Yeah.
how many cultural memes came out of that film? $2.
Sorry, kid, ain't got a dime.
Yeah, the whole drug thing.
Do you know the price of the snow?
Yeah, there's a whole mountain of this shit. I mean, There's just so many beautiful things that came out of that movie.
My
We
favorite.
got her snorting over here. This is great.
My
I
fa-
love that movie.
My favorite line from the entire movie is the mailman knocking on the door, and Badger opens it. Tell me, Badger, what's a little boy like you doing with big boy slut like this? Dude, every time.
It's all over with. It's all over with.
Lane
man.
Meyer.
Oh, I know the announcer, the two
Yes.
Asian guys in the car. Oh my god,
You can't
so
touch it.
good.
You
and
can't
the
touch it.
claymation in that movie is so cool.
Oh, the everybody wants some part?
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, it's just goes back and kind of driving this point home. It's just I can't. It's tough for me to watch a contemporary comedy now because I just know it. And maybe I am prejudging too much, but I've watched a bunch of contemporary comedies in this vein of like what you consider like kind of that same arena as Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
yeah.
man.
It's very predictable. Like that. Like I don't know if it's because I'm becoming so familiar with a lot of the formulas for movies nowadays, but I predict movies, what's going to happen in the next scene like all the time, and I'm just like, well,
It's
there
kind
we
of a
go.
bummer. Yeah.
You know,
So yeah, good call.
Better off to.
French fries, French dressing, and a drink, Peru. Oh, Alice, you sure do go to the outer limits. I mean,
Yeah,
like
you
when the
can't touch
food
it.
is crawling across the table,
Yeah.
like, you know, she boiled that shit. Like, what the fuck?
I like how he's dressed. Like he's just completely lost his fucking mind. And
Yes.
he's got a tie on his head, and he's just like in his untucked shirt,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got gasoline in a mason jar, and he's just walking around like my life doesn't matter at all. I love that movie.
No, it's
Another
can't-
movie on
yeah.
that.
yeah, Heather. This is
Plane.
your take the floor.
You and I, we have a similar thing for the 80s movies here. Weird Science is another one.
Oh, that's on my list.
Yeah.
That's another one of those movies I wanted
it's
to
on
be
that
in.
same plane, you know.
I wanted
of
to be
that
in
humor.
Weird Science so bad.
Oh, that movie is so fun.
I just wanted, but I just wanted to be in that movie for obvious reasons. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for what's her name?
Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah.
But no, but I really wanted to be in that movie though. It just that was such a fun movie.
It was cool because well, for me, it was cool because it's this like buddy comedy thing, you know, and these two friends, they create a woman, and it doesn't seem like it would be a sci-fi movie kind of deal, you know?
Yeah.
But it ends up being this like extravagant ordeal, and you don't feel embarrassed or dumb or at all anything like that
No.
when all this stuff is going on.
No.
You're totally along for the ride, and you can follow everything, and it's funny. Oh man, there's
No.
another colorful film.
No, it's that I was gonna say like that. That's a thing I can't put my finger on. Like I say the term, I keep using the term color. And
Yeah,
again,
no.
I want to be very explicit, be very clear, saying I'm not talking about visual color.
Right.
There's just a colorful nature about how the characters work together.
It's colorful is. I was trying to think of a word and I couldn't come up with one, but I think colorful is a really good. It's a really good word for it, because otherwise I would call it perfect.
Well, and maybe going back to this whole idea we're talking about, like the whole toilet humor thing. I really do think, and I don't think any of us want to come off as prude, like we can't handle things. But I do think the contemporary comedies that would be in the same arena, like as Weird Science or Better Off Dead, and these type of teenage, like angsty, girly love com. Like I think you said love
Rom-com.
Think about this.
Rom-com? Okay.
Think about this for a second.
Love com. I like that better. Though.
Weird Science. Weird Science. The entire movie is about two teenage boys creating the perfect specimen for them to have sex with. That's what the movie is about.
That's what
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And they
But it
get
becomes-
her.
yeah.
They get her in the house. This hot model chick, Kelly LeBrock. I mean, she was drop dead gorgeous back then.
God, you could.
But it never devolves into
Into
really
like a porn.
like it never
Well,
gets like too nasty.
There's only
or
like
anything.
No.
one sequence, like one little piece, if I can remember correctly, it's been a little while, where they mention the sex. Like there's one scene where she's like,
There's going to be
tried-
sex, drugs, rock and roll,
Well,
chips,
no,
dips, chains,
Yeah.
whips, your
There was
basic
that
high
too.
school orgy type of thing. I mean, I'm not talking candle wax on the nipples or witchcraft or anything like that. No. Just a couple hundred kids running around in their underwear acting like complete animals.
No, there's that beautiful,
Yeah.
Isn't that what
beautiful
she's talking
piece.
to his
the
dad?
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's one scene where they're talking, and she does mention, like, well, I did that thing last night, and you didn't seem to. That was it, though. You didn't really. There was like a mention of it.
Yeah,
Like some
Who is she-
acrobatic thing. I don't know.
who is she talking to? I can't remember now.
Oh, I forgot.
I don't think anything really, really happened though.
No, there was no. There was no sex. There was
No.
No,
it was
there's
implied
nothing.
the whole. I mean, Kelly LeBrock implies
Yeah.
it back then.
Yeah,
The
she
star,
also, if you ever get the
fuck.
chance, shower with them. I did. It's a mind scramble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hurts so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure what you're talking about. She says that loud enough for someone else to hear to
Yeah.
impress them because that's
Yeah.
what they wanted her
Okay.
for.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think she just did that on her own because they created her for that specifically and
Yeah.
she knew that.
Uh-huh.
And I think she was just
But they-
using it to their advantage.
That movie does kind of go. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm listening.
There are morals in that. That's the
Oh,
thing
there
too.
is.
There's like morals in the film. Like you.
A movie about sex from
Yeah, but you
a
do get to
woman
that
that's
point where
been
she's
created.
like, there is that thing. She's like, don't you realize people like you for who you are, not for what you have?
Yeah.
Fuck's wrong with you? You guys are stupid. It's like, wait, you're a friggin'. I put you. You were made in a petri dish, and you know more than I do. What the hell's going on? But that. Again, this is another great example of that. I mean, I'm going back to the whole toilet humor thing. If that movie was made, oh, and God, please, I don't want to
Don't do
plant
this.
any seeds.
Because you know what happens every time we talk about this
I know.
shit?
Shit
How
happens.
dare you?
It
It's that is
materializes.
another one of my favorite 80s movies. So if something happens about Weird Science coming out,
It'd be an X rating.
I'm taking your 12 gauge shotgun that you were talking about earlier, and I'm shooting you right in the face with it.
No, I don't have any guns.
He lied earlier.
I was lying. No, yeah, you should.
I will.
I'll agree. I'll give you the shells.
All right.
But yeah, again, implied. This whole sex thing.
Yeah.
It was implied. Like we knew it was going on, and we were really excited about it.
You
But it was
root
all in
for
our
him.
imagination. Which
Yeah,
is
it
even
was.
better.
Nothing even happened.
Just my imagination. I just had to throw my little vocal solo in there. Yeah.
Thanks,
I'm
Chris.
getting it.
So Weird Science is, and I mean, it's like it's one of those ones when you think about the '80s, like '80s party teenage movie. Weird Science, I think, is top of the list.
I
to
know a
me.
lot of people who have never seen Weird
Wow.
Science or Better Off Dead, and I'm like,
They're
who are you
idiots, son.
people?
Those are testaments. You have to see those movies.
I have another one on that same
Yeah.
level of comedy, Summer School.
Yes.
I only saw that once.
I love Summer School. That's one of my other like ultimate watches.
Summer School.
Summer School with what's his name, Mark Harmon or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark
Yeah.
Harmon was the teacher in that.
And my favorite thing about that movie is just how well, I've been in summer school before and it's nothing like that. But is how there's those two practical effects kids in there.
Yes.
And it's a really everybody in that movie, the kids that are portrayed in that movie, it's all like it's a huge diversity, thing going on there. And you have the special effects kids, you have the foreign exchange student,
Yeah.
you have the nerd who's allergic to everything, and then you have the beach bunny. But like that, when I see summer school, I feel like that is a perfect example of what the 80s was. All of those
Yeah, it
kids,
kinda
the
gets all the
it
different
gets Every
cultures.
single person from every genre of movie from the 80s, it's in summer school.
Well,
Which
go
the
ahead.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
See,
there's
you
kinda
just,
another
you
did
one.
just
also.
read my mind, dude.
Yeah.
Another really taking that idea and putting it on steroids, more or less, because you have summer school didn't have the claustrophobia that the Breakfast Club has, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it really didn't. I mean, summer school kind of went. I mean, it's a story that
They're
And
at the
It's
beach.
about-
They're
yeah,
different
doing
places.
stuff.
They're learning. It's summer school. You go to
Yeah.
school during the summer.
the Breakfast Club is that
It's
to
detention.
Me, it's detention, and that's where I'm saying the claustrophobia. Like
Yeah.
you're taking out because it's the same idea. You have all these different people from different walks of life, right? Not the diversity isn't. It isn't a visual diversity, it isn't a cultural diversity. You have 5 people And they're like, let's be blunt, they were all basically white kids.
Yeah,
right?
no,
They were, but you've
But they
got
were
the burnout.
totally different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you have the same diversity idea, just on a more personality level. You got the jock, you got the goth, you got the
Well,
rebel.
it's literally school incarnate. That's in Destiny. I played Destiny today. Sorry, that's in detention.
Yeah.
I mean, how many? There was 5, right? Five
yeah.
of them. Yeah, and they're just all different. And if you think about it, like when I had, smoke 'em up, Johnny, or
2
smoke
months.
up, Johnny. When
2 months, I got you. Go ahead.
Man, now I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, 2 months.
You got 2 months in detention, Heather.
Damn it.
You're fucked.
I got you. 2 months. No, go ahead.
But it
Go,
reminds
it's all you.
me of being, because in high school you have classes that are given to you, and you can't pick and choose who are in those classes, right? So
Yeah.
So the detention is it's basically just a very small classroom, and
Well, that was something I think we could all identify with, because you just said that. I know going through my educational, when I was in school back in like the 1700s, when we'd have to take the horse and buggy to school and stuff like that.
at the ripe old age of 15.
Yeah.
Throwback.
18 inches of snow
Uphill both
with a
ways.
backpack and no shoes on.
No.
Yeah,
shoes or
naked.
socks on.
I was nude. We didn't have clothes back then.
Yeah,
man.
that's right.
We were that poor. We had no clothes. But there was that idea, and it's something I really identify with. I think we all do, where, we'd be, whether it's detention or classes or some other type of activity, sports, I don't know, whatever it is, and you get put in with people
That
you may
have
never,
no idea of.
and it's a lot, and that does prepare you. It's interesting because that does prepare you for life, I think, because, you go into the working world, and now you're put in a room with a bunch of people that you probably would never even want to talk to on the outside. But I know for me, I've been put in those situations professionally where I sit down with some people and I'm like, man, fuck this guy. Who's this fucking guy? He's a
Right.
Yahoo. But after,
He's a Yahoo.
But after working with him for 4 or 5 months, you get to know each other.
Yeah.
You understand how each other tick. You develop a respect. And a lot of times for me, I've developed a lot of friendships that way. From a mutual understanding of something.
I
right?
think the difference between the Breakfast Club and how people relate to it is just it's funny because they're kids, So what you see there is literally people who haven't grown up yet. Like,
No,
they're
they
still
haven't.
children, and that's the sucky part of high school. Is
But
you're stuck with these people who are also
Yeah.
there at that same point with you, puberty, whatever, like you hate everything. You just hormones are running, and that's the Breakfast Club shows that.
But if you
pretty
look
well.
at that, like I was just saying, if you look at how that movie plays out, though, at the end, they walk out of there and they all have a respect for each other.
Yeah.
They all know each other now to a certain degree. So they had to spend an 8-hour day together, stuck in this room together,
Right.
basically. So there was that. If that would have never happened in their lives, that's what I find fascinating about the film. If those people weren't put in that room, it's a movie. Okay?
They would never
This
have
would
the
have never
chance to.
nothing like this would have ever happened. There wouldn't have been any hookups.
Right. Yeah.
There wouldn't have been any understanding, right? And that's what it really is kind of an analogy on life. You need to be put in those uncomfortable situations, and you need to suffer a little bit
Right.
to understand things and grow.
Right.
And that's what those kids did. And I really think that's kind of what that idea is, that those kids in 8 short hours,
Right.
which is an eternity when you're that age,
Of course.
they grew.
Yeah, they did.
Well, and the crazy
Brilliant.
thing is that the Breakfast Club still holds up.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like, my daughter has watched the Breakfast Club a bunch of times. Why? Because it's still relevant. It's
Yeah,
still the
absolutely.
same thing that happens in high school now. But the difference would be now the kids would be in detention and they'd be staring at their fucking iPhones the
Right.
entire time, and they would never have a chance
Would they
to...
allow that?
Yeah, probably.
No.
I hope not.
Well,
There's no
maybe
way.
Now.
Oh, dude.
Dude, maybe
the
now.
phones are
Yeah.
a problem.
Not
in
on my
school.
watch.
Well, I'm going to throw another one out there to kind of get off the comedy and teenage stuff.
It's tough to get off that, 'cause that stuff's just so
yeah,
good.
it is so good. But one that people still talk about, and it's kind of relevant to today, is Red Dawn.
Oh,
my
God,
mom
that's a tough
mentioned
one to
that.
watch.
That is...
Oh, my God.
I've never seen it.
The
You've
original
never
one?
seen Red Dawn?
Holy
No, I've
shit.
seen like pieces of it. I've never watched it all the way through.
So
Tough to
basically,
watch.
Red Dawn the U.S. is invaded
Oh,
by
I know what it's
the
about,
Russians
you know,
and
but-
the Cubans, correct?
Yeah.
And their small town is taken over, and the Wolverines decide to rebel against the foreign invasion.
Yeah, it's so. That movie scarred me. I think when I was younger, because that obviously, much like Rocky IV.
Yeah.
there was the whole Russian scare.
Right.
Yeah.
The Cold War.
Cold War. Thank you. This was another movie that was kind of a play on that, taken to the next level. Like, okay, what if it really happened?
Mm-hmm.
And to see that, at least for me, I don't know about you, Chris, but to see that when I was younger, like, on Showtime or whatever, that scared the shit out of me. And
it scared the shit out of me too. It was kind of crazy for me because I spent a lot of time up north with my dad in the woods. And, my dad was always like into archery and weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was always like kind of like this kind of thing where I could imagine something like that actually happening.
Yeah.
And where my family would probably pack up and go, where we might still be in harm's way, but like, oh, we'll just pack the car and we'll go up north and we'll hide out and blah, blah,
Right,
blah, blah.
right.
But, at that time, it never really struck me as a reality that could completely happen.
Yeah.
But with everything that was going on with, the nuclear scares and, like the day after and Threads and all these 80s
Threads
movies
was
about nuclear
fucking
war,
terrible to watch.
those were hard to watch. But this, you're watching,
There was hope involved.
yeah, there's hope involved, but you're also watching teenagers who are getting slaughtered and, shot.
That's what fucked me up was
Yeah.
like there's those shots they did at the high school.
Yeah.
And they literally have shots of kids like hanging out the windows dead.
Oh, geez.
And it was fucking scarring, man. That was tough to watch when you were younger. Like, wait, I go to school.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm in school. What happened?
Right.
It just was very tough to watch. And like it was during the Cold War. So again, it just goes back to the idea of like, okay, this could actually happen. Very concerning. And then, yeah, the movie does play out. Wolverine, that whole thing, right?
It's
Tough
very,
kids.
it's very
tough kids, man.
pro-America propaganda
Oh,
in a lot of
sure.
ways too. That America will win at all costs, that kind of thing. But Powers Booth, his character in it, I mean his acting is phenomenal when he's this pilot that's basically stranded, and then you have some of your main characters.
Does that guy always play a pilot? He's always a
Well,
pilot.
he's dead now, so. But
He's piloting in heaven.
well, I think the other thing about that movie too that kind of struck a chord was a lot of the people that play characters in Red Dawn were also in The Outsiders.
Yeah, yeah.
So you were kind of like, again, I keep mentioning this word, but you kind of like sympathize with them because you feel like they're part of your family, like Patrick Swayze, people like that that you saw repeatedly on screen,
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
Red Dawn.
Outsiders that was another. I mean, I hate to derail Red
No,
Dawn, but The
that's fine.
Outsiders was another one. That the book was great. That's one. I mean, I've read that book a couple times. But that movie there was something about that movie too. That was another one of those ones that just, you had my brain. Who the
There's a
hell?
million people in that movie.
Yeah, well, the main characters, Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio.
C.
Which
Thomas
that's
Howell.
tough. That's another one of those ones that was tough to watch. And there were some scenes in that some things played out, and how Ralph Macchio ended up in the film. It was a really tough those scenes with him in the hospital.
Oh, yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, whoa, holy crap, dude! Another one of that I could watch The Outsiders over, and that was a bummer because that movie got so big when it came out. They did, and I remember this vividly. They started doing a series on Sunday nights, like on Channel 50 or something when I was younger. And it played for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and it was actual story. It was all different characters, of course. But it was the Outsiders series on Channel 50 or
Oh,
something.
and it was like a story of
Yeah.
just one specific
And
character.
they were no, it was the Outsiders, but what they were doing was kind of expanding on the movie. Like,
okay, I
they'd
see.
have what Patrick Swayze was in the Outsiders, of course, and he, the big brother. What the hell was his? It don't matter. The big brother, Daryl, who was the roofer. You know, and there was always like, you know, you carry more pallets, you know, and they were always giving you shit for that. There was like an episode like kind of with him, like about his trade.
Oh, okay.
And like how he was having to deal with people he went to high school with. They're like frat boys and shit now, and they own their father's own construction companies.
Sure.
You know, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's like these whole things, you know, they were expanding on that. I'm like, man, this is totally awesome. And then it just vaporized. It didn't do well, and it just vaporized.
I
So
mean,
that
I
movie
just
was
have
so
to
cool.
I just have to mention this about The Outsiders. This cast: Matt Dillon, Ralph
Right?
Macchio,
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe,
Bring it in.
Emilio Estevez,
Bring it in.
Man.
Tom Cruise,
Tom Cruise. Bring it
Diane
in.
Lane.
Yeah.
Holy crap,
Leaf-
Tom Cruise was in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played Steve.
Yeah.
Diane Lane is
Yeah.
Cherry.
Cherry.
Tom Waits was in this movie too.
I do not
mean,
remember that. I mean,
yeah.
now I'm seeing it, but like I
Tom-
couldn't
oh,
even.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he
Tom
played-
Waits was also in Rumblefish, too.
Yeah.
Rumblefish and The Outsiders were basically filmed around the same time.
Yes,
They
they
same
were.
people, too. Tom Waits was in that also. Yeah, The Outsiders. You know, and I had another one it was perfect to throw out here. And my brain just, I'm looking at my
That's in
list
the
here.
same wheelhouse of.
Well,
Um,
you know what? I'm going to totally just fuck everybody up here and throw an 80s movie out that's one of my personal favorites, The Color Purple. I know, it's kind of not the same. It was in the 80s.
Oprah for president.
It's the only thing Oprah ever did that I really
Yeah.
liked, you know.
No, but she was phenomenal in this
She
movie.
was really good
Everybody,
in that
Danny
movie.
Glover was friggin' phenomenal in this
Yeah,
movie.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg was
Everybody
fucking
was.
phenomenal in this movie. I think I've said this before on the show. It's one of the only two films that I cannot watch without crying.
Oh.
The Color Purple annihilates me at the end every time I see it.
Oh, well, it should.
It just shuts me down. I can't stop it. I can watch The Color Purple over and over again. I know it doesn't really fit in with the kind of what we're going with here. I'm sorry,
Doesn't matter.
it's-
We're talking
about
no,
it was
in
we're
general.
Talking about, yeah.
but it was
We're talking
cool.
about our favorite movies. of
Here's another one.
movies.
This will. We were just talking about this one at work today because I mentioned like we're going to talk about, and with my coworker, we're going to talk about 80s movies and you know what I do for a living. They're like, well, don't forget War Games. I'm
Oh,
like,
yes.
Oh God.
Nice.
Thermonuclear devastation warfare, whatever the hell the name
Yeah.
of the game was. Would you like to play a game?
Would you like to play a game?
The Whopper.
I wish it worked that way.
The Whopper.
The Whopper. Thank you.
WOPR.
Yep.
Whopper.
I forgot what that was short for. War Operations. I forgot what the acronym was. Yeah, there were some really great shots of that in the film. The mainframe, the Whopper, on a tape drive. But yeah,
the
yeah.
80s was funny.
it was beautiful because you know he would just hack right into the freaking U.S. military. He just had his phone modem and he just would hack into the U.S. military. It was just that easy. Fun movie though. It did well. It's another one too. It was
War Operation Plan Response. It's so stupid.
Oh my god, dude! But that was another one during the Cold
That's
War, though.
so general.
It is.
That was another. It was a nuclear scare type film, another Cold War type movie. You know, we're gonna go to war.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, but you know, he's got to play the game and keep the freaking missiles from launching. Not a very good flick, but worth a mention because it was just a fun movie to watch, especially for computer nerds like me. We're just like, yeah, it's that easy. Yeah, whatever, dude. You know.
Nice modem, dude.
Yeah, nice modem, dude.
Man, I'm so sad I forgot my list because I had animated movies on there and I had anime as well
Yeah.
that were really big from the 80s. Transformers was really big. Akira came out in the 80s.
Yeah, that's true.
Voltron.
Well,
Voltron.
not shows. I'm talking about movies. The first the Transformers
Oh,
the movie.
the cartoon.
Yeah.
Where-
That was in 83
You're right.
or 5 or something like
See,
that.
I'm
I had like Little Mermaid came out in the 80s. Disney came out with a lot of movies in the 80s. All Dogs Go to Heaven. What was another one? Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
That's another one that came out in the 80s. Yep. I
wish
watched that
wish
religiously
followed
too.
Disney more. I don't
Actually,
follow Disney enough. I should follow Disney more.
I have two really big movies that were like the shape of my life when I was younger. I mean, I'm only 31. I was born. I'm a 90s. I was a 90 kid. I'm a 90s kid. I was
Yeah,
born in
yeah.
86, but I still do. I watch a lot of old stuff, and I love Tom Cruise. So, Top Gun,
Yeah.
and then Legend shaped my life.
Legend was badass.
I love that movie.
Those are both great movies.
And it's like it's funny because they have that. There's very nostalgia and all that stuff like that. But Top Gun is a really good movie. Like just outside of it being like a great 80s movie and all that stuff. Tom Cruise, woo, and what was her name? Kelly McGraw or whatever.
Kelly
McGillis.
McGillis,
Yeah. Who's not hot, by the way. Fine, whatever. But
she was pretty in that movie, though.
She was pretty in that movie for a horse mouth, but.
Oh.
But not like Top Gun is a really good movie. It's a great drama.
Well, it holds up too.
Yeah, it's great.
Legend
is one of my favorites. Jesse bought it for me for my birthday on Blu-ray. Girl, you need to watch that on Blu-ray.
Okay, girl.
That thing, it looks crisp. That is a beautiful movie. And the practical effects in that. I mean, Tim Curry had this. He was on stilts and he had his horns for when he played Darkness. They weighed like 70 pounds or something ridiculous.
I've read a couple
There was a
things.
metal pole
Yeah.
holding those up for him. Like, God.
Well, that's a testament to Tim Curry's dedication, too.
Mm-hmm,
that's probably
too.
one of his biggest roles I think he ever did. And I mean, God damn, that's tough. Not tough to watch, but when you see that, that's like, what's the devil? What is it? I know it's the devil.
And,
like, what does that
and
look
his
like?
laugh.
Oh, my God.
And
brutal.
just Meg, the woman in the river or in the water. Oh, my God. And then one of my favorite things in that movie, it's so simple, is just when he's trying to convince Lily to marry him, basically, and there's that long table and it's got all the food, and he's like, are you hungry? Do you want something to eat? And then he shows the glass and the wine fills up, and he's like, drink, and she just kind of gives him like the smug, like, I'm not falling for this or nothing like that. But that's my one of my favorite parts of the movie is just that
she
scene.
is so beautiful too. I wonder whatever happened to her.
She still looks good.
Did she? I haven't seen her anything in like
I don't
forever.
think she's been in anything in a while, but I said the same exact thing. I was like, where the hell did Mia Sara go? I mean, Ferris Bueller's and Legend, and like that's all I ever remember her from.
Thanks for mentioning Ferris Bueller's Day
Right?
Off.
There's another
that,
one.
That had to be mentioned. We'd get excommunicated if we didn't mention that in this show.
Right?
Another one of those. Well, it's on the fucking screen. We're
Oh,
looking
right.
at,
Yeah,
look at
we're
that,
looking
right?
at it, and look at her. She's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And look at he was so cute too. Come on, and everybody, he just got fat.
Yeah, she really
big and
hasn't done
bloated.
much.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I
is
think
shit.
she might have been in like a show in the
Yeah,
past
she's
few
done a lot of
years.
like low budget stuff.
Let me throw this. I gotta fuck you guys up with this one. One of my personal favorites. Roadhouse.
Oh no.
That movie comes on if the rare occurrence that we're flicking on the TV, like actual TV. For some reason, Roadhouse will always find its way onto one of those stations.
And you're like, stop.
Stop everything. Get some popcorn made. It's time to watch Roadhouse.
You know what my 80s movie is for that? Tremors.
Oh,
If I see Tremors, I have to watch it.
dude, Kevin Bacon was
I know,
harsh
right?
in that flick, man. He was
But
awesome.
Roadhouse is so good.
Roadhouse is hysterical.
It's so good.
Fucking
Well,
hilarious.
I think, you've got Patrick Swayze kind of at like the peak of his career.
peak,
Right?
man.
Yeah.
Like,
Carved out of wood.
Yeah. And I mean,
Adonis.
he had already done all the like The Outsiders and all that Dirty Dancing and everything. And now he's like applying, instead of dancing, now he's like this kick-ass
This is
fucking door guy.
Oh,
the scene.
man.
Dude, you're a door guy.
Amber, I made Amber watch it one time. I actually, like, she'll see it and like her eyes will roll and she'll leave the room
yeah,
now.
I was gonna say,
and I
she'll
made
get
her
up.
sit. I think we were actually on a trip at a hotel and we were just chilling out and it came on in a freaking hotel. I'm like, well, you can't escape.
I know.
You got to watch it. But there's this beautiful scene where he meets the chick, like every movie.
Yeah,
And
who
there's-
was the girl in that movie?
Kelly Lynch.
Oh, okay.
Oh, thanks. Like, there's just that beautiful, because he's like staying in that barn.
Yeah. He's staying in the loft.
And like the scene is like the next morning, like early in the morning, like the sun's
Yeah.
barely coming up, and you can only imagine he just spent like the last 7 hours drilling this chick, right? And she wakes up from being just fucking pulverized all night long by fucking Patrick Swayze. I mean, I'm being crass. I'm sorry, but it makes
His
sense.
ghost penis.
Yeah, but then like she wakes up after just being just the night of her life, and there's Patrick Swayze doing frickin' yoga, and with the sun coming up behind his carved, beautifully bronzed body. And it's like that scene just sums up Patrick Swayze's entire career right there. And Amber was just like, turn this fucking movie off right now. I'm like, no.
I would have been like, you need to take a cold shower is what you need to do.
I did. I'm like, I'll be back in a second. I'm going to use the facilities. Roadhouse is so much fun. It's so ridiculous. Sam Elliott's in it also, which I love Sam Elliott.
The dude never ages.
Yeah, he looks so
He
good.
always plays Sam Elliott in
Yeah.
every movie. He's always the same, like, sidekick,
Yeah.
southern drawl dude, you know, but
He gets killed, which sucked.
Yeah.
It really bummed me out to see Sam Elliott get offed in Roadhouse. But
It's
Yeah.
funny because Patrick Swayze and who were the really big guys in the 80s? Patrick Swayze, Tom Cruise, I would say Emilio Estevez.
Sly Stallone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. We haven't even mentioned Terminator.
I don't even want to throw a Terminator out there because that's going to get me started down a really bad path. But I will say Commando is
Badass.
That was on my
literally
list.
one of the best 80s action movies. Even though it's terrible and doesn't hold up, that movie changed my life.
Predator. I mean, there's so
yeah.
many good ones.
I'm going to throw this out there as a related thing to Arnold Schwarzenegger. The guy's long story, but there's actually a band called Austrian Death Machine.
Oh yeah,
Have you heard of Austrian Death Machine?
they're awful.
They're totally awful, but they write every song they write is about
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
it's about Arnold
yeah.
Schwarzenegger. And it's not like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's all like
It's all like
get to the chopper,
yeah, they're all-
you know, whatever they lay into a tune. Now I just thought about that, and now I'm gonna have to listen to those records tomorrow.
Total Recall. I mean,
Yeah, I
Aliens.
need your shoes, your clothes, your motorcycle, and I gotta listen to this crap now. Anyways,
what? Wasn't The Abyss late 80s?
oh,
Wasn't that like 89?
I believe it
Look that one up,
was.
Chris, will you?
Yeah, I'm going to look this up.
Because that should be mentioned.
Because James Cameron was huge in the 80s. Steven Spielberg basically
was-
owned the 80s.
It was 89.
Oh, look at me.
Look at you. That
Boom.
movie, one of my
You know,
all-time favorites.
I
is The
could do
Abyss.
an entire podcast on The Abyss.
I think have we
actually-
mentioned that? Like Ed
and
Harris.
actually, Jim Cameron, we could probably...
We
Yeah,
could probably
we
do,
should do
a
one on
really
Jim
good
Cameron.
podcast on him.
The Abyss to me has the finest. To me, Ed Harris, the finest acting I think I've ever seen was by Ed Harris in The Abyss, and when he's trying to revive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that
we
to
talked
me
about that before.
is absolutely the best acting I have ever seen. He blew his fucking voice out on that.
Right.
You can hear it. He flipped. I mean,
Yeah.
to get that far into a scene like that. I've been through it. I don't want to put people to sleep.
Oh, I know.
But that's the best acting I think I've ever seen, honestly.
Oh, dude, that entire cast. I mean, it is funny because you do get some remnants from Aliens in this
Oh, God,
movie,
yeah.
too.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, Ed Harris, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, like, she doesn't really do much anymore. And I
No.
mean, she is a
Great actress.
I know.
actress.
Like, where'd she go?
You see this? They call this the hammer. Fucking great line. Oops. I just beat the
Oh,
crap
I
out
thought
of my
that
stick.
was like,
That was me
music.
playing a note on the spring here.
what is that, a G string?
Boom, 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 boom. It's a washtub bass. Yeah, The Abyss. Thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah,
Late '80s.
It was 89.
Man, what a
Right.
movie!
It's
and how
still-
it was made. There's just everything about that movie is just incredible.
It still feels very 80s, though.
yeah.
It does, but the visual effects, I remember seeing this for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get to see this at the movies. I watched it in my friend's home theater system. Like, they had one of those like big like projection TVs in their basement. And I remember watching this movie and being like, this is like cool
This is
as
crazy,
shit.
yeah.
In the ideas of the breathing technology that they
God,
were
yeah.
trying to bring
Oh,
out
wow.
in that movie. Like, there's a lot of
Did it for
very,
9 months already. You can do it again. Wow.
There was very thoughtful stuff.
It was
in that
it was
movie.
a nerd flick. There was some real nerdy. There was some hard elements in that film as far as the technology and things like that were concerned. It was exciting to watch, like from a technical standpoint, for me at least. And that movie actually, at one time, I remember watching The Abyss so much. When when it first came out, like I think I actually have a videotape of that one too that I
Wow.
taped somewhere. I watched it so much. I actually, for a short time, I wanted to get into like marine biology. And
Oh,
stuff.
really?
I actually was getting interested in going into like, working in subs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Never panned out.
No,
but,
I'd never be able to. I'm claustrophobic. There's no fucking way.
Scarface.
Ooh, oh God, I hate Scarface.
Oh, come
too.
on.
I
Why
hate
don't you like
that movie.
Scarface?
God.
Her
Oh, it's-
womb is so polluted.
Nah, it's just.
You can't even give me a Tony Montana Jr.
You can't even give me a fucking baby.
So, the funny thing about Scarface is there are a lot of people that hate this movie, but
Come on.
Scarface is literally
You're nuts.
like a perfect specimen of like the Reagan era.
Yeah.
In like the materialism,
Real
the gross
element.
materialism and capitalism of the 80s, like in focus.
Oh, okay.
And that was their idea, even down to the soundtrack, very disco-like soundtrack. The Exodus, obviously around cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a real indulgent film.
Okay.
Where a character that was very confused, thought he knew what he wanted, but when he finally gets to a certain point, when he goes beyond redemption.
Right. He just couldn't go back.
Yeah, it's like it's over, right? Really had good intentions. I mean, is hard nosed as Tony Montana was.
Yeah.
There was a heart there. He did love. He did care. But he didn't know. He also didn't know how to express that. I think too.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time studying that character. And that's one of the things about Tony Montana. There's some real great scenes where it's like, oh, fuck you, man. Shit like that. But, hey, come back, give me a kiss, man. What are you doing? There's love there, right? I don't think he knew how to express it necessarily. We could do a whole show on that.
Well, it was greed. He was so wrapped up in greed
Yeah.
and materialism and having the big house and the beautiful wife.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, the American
Who was
dream.
Yeah.
quite
That's what it was.
beautiful.
And that's what the entire movie is about, the
Pfeiffer
American
was
dream.
funny.
Yeah, dude.
And it's violent and nasty
Yeah.
as shit.
Ugly film, man.
Maybe
Really
I would
hardcore.
Maybe I would like it if I watched it now. But I've seen the movie a couple times when I was younger, and I was just. And I mean, like,
It's
younger, and I mean, like, teenage, like 14 or something like that,
That was a legendary film in our circles growing up because that was like, some serious violence. To me, some of the most violent imagery at the time. And there's a couple of scenes in that movie where literally it's like, before I saw it, people were like, you haven't seen Scarface yet? No. Well, you got to see the chainsaw scene.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Holy shit. Now, today, that'd be fucking tame. But that, for the time, violent as hell.
But the crazy thing about Scarface is, yes, they could show that violence today.
It wouldn't be
And
anything.
the movie was edited to not show everything.
Yep.
Otherwise, it would have had an X rating.
Yep.
But the way they did show the chainsaw scene in the movie was brilliant. All you
Yeah.
see is the guy's eye and the blood start
it was
coming
so
down his
fucked.
face.
That was- yeah, it's
You
so
know
tough
what's
to watch.
happening. We've talked about this a
Totally
million
implied.
times. It just has to be implied. We don't need to see all the gore
Yeah.
and the details.
Totally implied.
Well,
Well, what? We got all night, dude. I got like 50 more
we
movies to
don't
talk
have
about.
all
Yeah.
night.
no, we got to wrap this up, folks.
We didn't.
Is it really? Did we go over?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
we
Of
were-
course we did. Of
we
course.
blew,
Of
we
course.
blew. There's
So-
so much we didn't touch on here.
I
We
know.
should do a part 2 of this.
I think that, we should definitely do a part 2 maybe next month on this.
Yeah.
Let's
I
not
think
come back
we
to
should
this.
focus
revisit
more
this.
on the technical aspects of the 80s era.
Yeah, sure.
For real, because
Yeah.
we could talk about movies all day,
Yep.
really, but there's a specific thing that comes from the decade of the 80s that makes their
Well-
films just so memorable
Well,
and
I'm
just
wondering.
so good.
I'm wondering if there's going to be some people that because like I know, to play devil's advocate, if there's a group of people out there that are much younger, they're going to say, "Well, dude, the movies from the 10s or the 2000s,
Yeah.
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 there's nothing like that either."
Nah,
Like someday, you know what I mean?
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. And it's true, there are some movies that came out in the 90s the 90s had a great run of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think maybe I think maybe I want to ask more people about that. about this.
It would be an
specific
interesting
question,
idea,
you know?
because an interesting idea because I know it's very easy for us to go, well, fuck, back in my day they made real movies. Yeah.
But I think that's beside the point. I think that, you know, now we have things like Stranger Things
Yeah.
in these other
They're all
shows.
throwbacks.
They're all throwbacks. Why? Why are they
Well,
throwbacks?
there's a testament. That's a
There's a-
testament.
That's a
right there.
testament.
Yeah.
Things were different than they are now. There was more care put in. Things were practical effects. The music was done with full orchestras. Not everything was synthesized in a studio. There was care and love. It's like baking a cake.
Right.
You want to put care and love into it, and it's going to taste so much sweeter
And
when it's
baking
fully
is
baked.
so precise. You can't mess around. It's not like cooking. You have to follow the recipe exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so maybe that's what it is. The 80s was baking.
Yes.
You know, the 80s was just,
with some
trying to
special
bake.
sweet frosting on it.
right?
All right, folks. This was
God.
episode
The look on your
73.
face when you said that, you disgusting bastards.
We will be back next week. Thanks for checking us out.
Good night.
God love Chris.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.